Hello everybody, Necromancy for Kids here once again, continuing my series for the Halloween season based on the dark side of Yu-Gi-Oh! And this time around I've got a pretty spicy deck for you, which is Insect Burn, as you could tell by the title. The deck was originally created by Chopper, one of the members of the Academy team alongside me on the Jinzo and Tonic Discord, as well as the GoFormat.com Discord. I have these challenges, if you haven't heard about them already, the Perfectly Ultimate GOAT challenges, where you basically get achievements for doing things in GOAT format. And one of the achievements was to win using insect monsters, insects and plants only. And he created a deck similar to this one, although not exactly, because obviously you see there's not insects here, but as a more general purpose deck, this is what I decided to make for it. In this world, a lot of people hate insects. In Gold format, insect type monsters are usually pretty bad, but I think there's an interesting strategy here with these monsters. And as well, a lot of people really hate burn decks, and especially stall burn. But basically what Chopper did was take the stall burn shell, which he knows works and he's played so many times, and he added insect monsters in a way that was surprisingly synergistic. And even though he also won with dinosaur burn, which is really bad, this insect deck that he made is a lot more interesting and a lot more synergistic. So with that said, let me go over what the cards in the deck are. First off, we have the insect monsters. There are 3 copies of Howling Insect, which is a level 3 insect with 1200, 1300. And it says, once destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon an insect monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck. Like Pyramid Turtle, it can be in attack or defense mode, or like Masked Dragon as well. It does have only 3 stars, which means that it goes underneath our Gravity Bind, which we are playing in this deck, meaning that if your opponent does have clear monsters, you can still run in with this and deal some damage with it. One consideration you could have over this instead is Mystic Tomato. The upside to using the Howling Insect is that it's level 3, and also you can summon the monster in defense position, but that doesn't really matter too much, to be honest. Mostly I'm using Howling Insect instead of Mystic Tomato just because I think it's cooler and more thematic. Then we have 3 copies of Jirai Gumo, level 4 insect with 2200, 100. And when this card declares an attack, you have to call heads or tails, and if you call wrong, you lose half your life points. Now, that is pretty hefty, but you are playing a stall burn deck, and the whole idea of the deck is to do as much damage as possible, as quick as possible, and all else fails, you sit back and accrue the resources you need to deal the damage, because over time a burn deck is going to have the advantage. Every turn it's more and more likely that they're going to draw their burn cards, and every turn it's more and more likely that the opponent has more resources, which increase the power of their burn cards. And one of the important things here is 2200 damage attacking directly is pretty powerful, and it can pretty much run over anything that isn't Chaos Sorcerer or BLS. And as well, even if you're not attacking with it, the opponent is going to have a hard time getting over this. And if the opponent takes it with Snatch Steal and tries to use it against you, they're going to have to flip that coin and possibly lose half their life and then die to your burn. So they really don't want to do that. And then if you do have it and they're not attacking with it, you're just getting 1,000 life points each turn, pretty much for free, especially because you're going to be stalling them out. Next up is Swarm of Locusts, another level 3, so it gets underneath our Gravity Bind insect with 1000 attack and 500 defense, and once per turn you can flip it face down. That is a hard once per turn, even in GOAT format, and if this card is flip summoned, you can destroy one spell trap card your opponent controls. The synergy here is that it allows you to destroy the opponent's cards, such as Royal Decree. If they have that, you could summon it off of the end of your Howling Insect string, and then on your turn, use its effect to set it, and then immediately flip summon it to destroy Royal Decree. Also gets rid of back row for you to be able to attack in with your Jirai Gumo and with itself. And you never know if they might have set removal or a solemn or something that you don't want them to be able to use. You could also, in this deck, run Swarm of Scarabs and make it more of a Pac-Man thing, but problem is you actually want the opponent to have monsters for cards like Just Desserts and Nightmare Wheel, so that's why I didn't include it in this build. That's it for the insects, but one other spicy one that you could include because you're running Howling Insect instead of Mystic Tomato is Atomic Firefly. It's a level 1 insect with 100 attack, 200 defense. And when this face-up card attacks or is attacked and destroyed by battle, the player who destroyed it takes 1,000 points of damage. So, what you can do is summon it off of Howling Insect in defense position, and then it's basically a wall now on the field where your opponent has to decide, is it worth it for me to take 1,000 damage to get rid of this? And with, obviously, you can't summon that off of Mystic Tomato. So it's kind of an interesting card. It might be a little bit too cute because otherwise you're just summoning in attack mode and hoping that you're not taking too much damage. Then next up, to round off our monsters, we have Sangan to search our cards, Cyberjar to clear the field of things such as Jinzo and any problematic monsters when we absolutely need to get rid of them. And as well, it fills our hand back up with our burn cards. And we can set our Howling Insects and our Sangan, or summon Jirai Gumo in attack mode, which is pretty much going to wall anything that they summon off of Cyberjar. And then we have Morphing Jar because we ran out of cards really quickly. We don't have a lot of monsters that will clog our hands, and we want to get more cards to burn the opponent out. For spell cards, the only ones we run in this particular build are Graceful Charity and Pot of Greed. You could play Wave Motion Cannon if you wanted. If you did, you probably would want to play something like Magic Jammer to help protect it better. But for this build, I just went all out with the cards that the opponent's going to just rage about. So we didn't go for the Wave Motion Cannon. Then we go on to our burn cards. First of all, we have Ceasefire. Flips all face-down monsters face up. Flip effects don't activate. Then you inflict 500 damage for each effect monster on the field. Just so people know, this doesn't actually count Ojama Trio because tokens are not effect monsters. Then we have 3 Just Desserts to burn 500 for each monster the opponent controls. Got 3 Nightmare Wheel, which targets one monster the opponent controls, face down or face up, and it can't change its attack position or attack. And during each of your standby phases, the opponent takes 500 damage. This is another reason, again, why we don't want to play Swarm of Scarabs, because we want them to keep their monsters for Nightmare Wheel to slowly burn them out. And of course, as I mentioned, we have Ojama Trio to help fill their side of the field with monsters to power up our Just Desserts and our Secret Barrels. And we play 1 Ring of Destruction as well. Just an overall good burn card and really good to use with your Jirai Gumo. Attack directly with Jirai Gumo, and then Ring of Destruction, just blow them out. Of course, obviously, that could hurt you as well. Then we have our stall cards in the deck. We've got 2 Gravity Bind. It says level 4 or higher monsters cannot attack. We only have 3 level 4 or higher monsters, and they just want to stick around in attack mode. Then we have Wall Revealing Light, pay life points in multiples of 1,000, and monsters the opponent controls cannot attack if their attack is less than or equal to the amount paid. You almost always want to pay 3,000 unless BLS is already gone, or you figure you probably would lose even if they summoned BLS. This doesn't stop your own monsters from attacking, so you can still attack with Jirai Gumo. It does, of course, have a slight anti-synergy with Jirai Gumo if you're being too aggressive with it and paying too many life points for that. But usually that's not going to be the case because you don't want to just be constantly attacking with Jirai Gumo anyway. Usually you want to save it for when you're going to actually do damage to their life points. Then to protect all of these cards, like our Nightmare Wheels And our stall cards, you've got 3 Solemn Judgment. Also keeps the opponent from summoning their big cards that are going to win them the duel. And you have 2 Fake Trap. You could play more Fake Trap, or you could play, of course, like I said, the Magic Jammers, or you could even play 7 Tools the Bandit if you wanted to, which is good against decks that use Royal Decree. And it's also good to get rid of the opponent's battle traps that they might use to stop your Jirai Gumo from running them over. Then to round out the deck, we have 3 Jar of Greed, just to help us draw into these good cards that we have to help us win the duel. For side deck cards, we have Double Snare, which is pretty important. Allows you to destroy Jinzo or Royal Decree. I believe it can also destroy Archfiend Skull Dragon, which is called Fiend Skull Dragon technically in the TCG. Then we have Mystical Space Typhoon for much the same reason, to destroy Royal Decree. Battle Behind the Door for fighting against other burn decks. And you could have a 3rd Fake Trap, of course, specifically to protect your Solemns without having to activate them. Wall of Revealing Light, Gravity Bind, and Nightmare Wheel. Pretty much everything else is chainable, so you don't really care about it. But maybe you want to hold on to it a little bit longer. With all of that said, this is the deck. Not exactly as Chopper showed it to me originally, but I did some editing and made it more insect theme and more in line with a normal goat deck. Hopefully you guys liked it or hated it very much, as the series is meant to show off the dark side of Yu-Gi-Oh! All of the evils in one way or the other. And hopefully you guys will like the other 2 decks that I have planned to show you guys. With that said, hope you all have a good one, and take care.